Before the twinkle of store-bought sides and shortcut casseroles, Christmas tables were built on slow hands, family recipes, and dishes that filled the house with unforgettable aromas. Tonight, we're bringing those forgotten favorites back to life, the ones that made the holidays feel like home. Creamed pearl onions with nutmeg. Have you ever tasted a side dish so quiet and delicate it felt like it belonged to another era entirely? Creamed pearl onions once sat proudly on Christmas tables as a badge of patience and quiet skill. Each tiny onion had to be blanched, pinched, and slipped from its skin one by one, a slow ritual carried out in steamy kitchens while carols hummed softly in the background. Once peeled, they were simmered gently in a pale, velvety bechamel, made from butter, flour, and warm milk, whisked until smooth as silk. The final touch, just a whisper of freshly grated nutmeg, transformed the dish from simple to unforgettable. The flavor was soft, sweet, and comforting, the onions tender enough to yield to the back of a spoon. It wasn't flashy, it didn't sparkle with sugar or crunch with topping. It simply waited, steaming quietly, rewarding those who noticed it. Today, frozen sides and rushed casseroles have erased this slow tradition from most holiday tables. But those who remember still recall the scent of cream and nutmeg drifting through the house like a promise of warmth. And yet, even this gentle classic was only the beginning of what once appeared next on Grandma's Christmas table: scalloped oysters in cream sauce. In a time when Christmas tables whispered of the sea, one dish arrived with the hush of something rare and indulgent. Scalloped oysters were the quiet luxury of coastal holidays, a recipe guarded in handwritten cards and church cookbooks stained with butter and cream. Fresh oysters, when fortune allowed, were layered gently into a deep baking dish, each briny morsel nestled beneath a blanket of cream, crushed crackers, and melted butter. A hint of white pepper, sometimes a trace of sherry, gave the sauce its subtle warmth. As the dish baked, the kitchen filled with a rich, unmistakable aroma, salt air meeting holiday comfort. The top emerged golden and softly crisp, while beneath, the oysters melted into a silky, savory sauce that begged to be spooned slowly. Inland families often relied on canned oysters, saving this recipe for special years when Christmas felt just a little more abundant. Over time, changing tastes and the rarity of fresh shellfish pushed this once proud side into near obscurity. Yet for those who remember that first creamy bite, tinged with the ocean and holiday warmth, the memory still lingers. And the next dish, waiting in the wings, carries a sweetness no one expects: ambrosia fruit fluff salad. It arrived on the table in a glass bowl that shimmered under Christmas lights, pastel bright and impossibly cheerful, as if dessert had wandered into the middle of dinner. Ambrosia wasn't just a salad, it was a promise of sweetness in the heart of winter. Canned mandarin oranges and crushed pineapple were folded together with snowy clouds of whipped topping, then scattered with coconut, ruby maraschino cherries, and sometimes a handful of miniature marshmallows if grandmother felt playful. Nothing about it was rushed, even though it took only minutes to make. The magic came from the waiting, from letting the bowl rest in the cold until every flavor softened and became one. Children always spotted it first, its colors calling from across the table. But adults followed close behind, drawn by its creamy brightness between heavier, savory dishes. It cleansed the palate and lifted the spirit in the same gentle spoonful. Today, ambrosia has slipped into the background, replaced by plated desserts and tidy salads with vinaigrettes. Yet those who remember still taste Christmas in its pillowy sweetness. And just when the table seemed lighter than the moment before, another forgotten dish waited to surprise everyone all over again: candied sweet potatoes with marshmallows. The first sign was always the smell, butter and sugar melting together into something that felt more like a celebration than a side dish. Candied sweet potatoes with marshmallows turned the Christmas table into a quiet battleground of opinions and desires. Thick slices of orange sweet potatoes were simmered until tender, then layered into a casserole with brown sugar, cinnamon, and generous pats of butter. As they baked, the syrup formed slowly, bubbling into every soft curve and crevice. But the moment that truly mattered came at the end. A blanket of marshmallows scattered across the top, slid under the broiler, and watched like a hawk. Too long, and they burned. Too short, and they never reached that perfect golden puff. When done just right, the surface crackled under the spoon, giving way to creamy sweetness beneath. Some swore it was too indulgent for a side. Others refused to celebrate Christmas without it. Today, it still appears, but far less boldly than before. And yet, as one sweet tradition faded, another far stranger and brighter dish waited just beyond the edge of memory. Buttery glazed carrots with brown sugar. Not every Christmas side needed a casserole dish or a slow bake to steal the spotlight. Some worked their magic right on the stovetop. Buttery glazed carrots were the quiet jewel of the holiday meal, their bright orange glow shining beneath a glossy coat of melted butter and brown sugar. Sliced into coins or long tender sticks, the carrots were simmered just until soft, never mushy. Then came the transformation. Butter melted, sugar dissolved, and the pan filled with gentle bubbles as the glaze thickened into a silky syrup that clung to every piece. The scent was warm and inviting, sweet but not cloying, simple but impossible to ignore. These carrots didn't beg for attention, yet no one ever skipped them. They slipped easily between the turkey and dressing, offering a moment of gentle sweetness that felt like a reward. Over time, roasted vegetables and savory seasonings took their place, pushing this humble favorite into the shadows. But those who remember still see that soft shine on the plate like a small holiday miracle. And just when the sweetness began to fade, a shimmering crimson guest was already waiting to take its place. Jellied cranberry ring mold. It didn't arrive quietly. It wobbled its way into the room, glowing like a ruby crown under the Christmas lights. The jellied cranberry ring was never just a side dish. It was a centerpiece, released from its tin mold with a soft, dramatic slide onto a waiting platter. Whole berry or perfectly smooth, the cranberry jelly held its shape in proud ridges, each groove marking where the knife would soon fall. Some grandmas dressed it up with orange zest, walnut halves, or a ribbon of whipped cream piped through the center like frosting on a cake. The flavor struck with sharp sweetness first, then faded into a clean, tart finish that cut through gravy, butter, and roast meat like a bright winter breeze. It refreshed the palate without ever asking for applause, though it always received it. Today, canned cranberry sauce still lingers on holiday tables, but rarely with this kind of ceremony. The mold is gone, the presentation forgotten. Yet as that crimson ring once caught the light, another long-lost dish waited in the shadows, one far softer, far creamier, and quietly proud of its patience. Spoon-bread corn soufflé. Some dishes announced themselves with a shimmer or a sparkle. This one arrived with a quiet, trembling rise from the oven, daring you to be on time. Spoon bread was the soft-spoken marvel of Christmas tables in the South, hovering somewhere between bread, pudding, and pure kitchen alchemy. Cornmeal was slowly simmered in milk and butter until thick and satin smooth, then cooled just enough for eggs to slip in without scrambling. The true gamble came next. Egg whites, whipped into airy peaks, were folded in by hand. Too fast and the magic vanished, too slow and the batter lost its lift. When it baked, the kitchen filled with the gentle perfume of warm corn and butter. For a brief, perfect moment, the soufflé puffed high and proud, golden on top, cloud-like within. It was never sliced. It was spooned, softly, before gravity could steal its glory. Serve it late, and it collapsed into humble pudding. Serve it just right, and it tasted like triumph. And as that delicate dish faded from the plates, something far bolder and far richer was already warming in the next oven. Cheesy broccoli rice casserole. It never looked elegant, never shimmered under candlelight, and yet somehow it vanished from the table faster than almost anything else. Cheesy broccoli rice casserole was the unashamed comfort king of Christmas dinner, born from busy kitchens and the golden age of convenience cooking. Steamed rice formed the soft foundation, folded together with tender green broccoli and a thick, velvety blanket of melted cheese. Often it came from a jar or a can, glossy and impossibly smooth, engineered to cling to every grain and floret. A final scattering of crispy onions or buttered crumbs sealed the top before it disappeared into the oven. As it baked, the room filled with the unmistakable scent of warm cheese and starch, heavy, cozy, impossible to ignore. When it emerged bubbling and bronze at the edges, the first scoop always stretched in long, molten threads. It wasn't refined. It wasn't subtle. It was pure reassurance on a crowded holiday plate. Over time, fresher sides and lighter flavors pushed this casserole aside, quietly rewriting tradition. But just as the last cheesy spoonful disappeared, a far cooler, stranger holiday creation was already setting in the fridge, waiting to shimmer into view next. Baked apples with cinnamon butter. By the time the scent reached the doorway, everyone in the house already knew what was coming out of the oven. Baked apples with cinnamon butter were never loud on the Christmas table, but they announced themselves through aroma alone. Tart apples were cored and stood upright in a buttered dish like little sentries of winter. Into each hollow went a soft mound of brown sugar, a generous knob of butter, and a snowfall of cinnamon that melted into everything around it. As they baked slowly, the apples softened, their skins wrinkling just enough to show they were surrendering. The sauce formed quietly at the bottom of the dish. Apple juice, butter, and spice blending into a glossy amber pool. Served hot, each apple split beneath the spoon, releasing steam scented with sugar and warmth. Some ate it beside the turkey. Others insisted it was dessert in disguise. Either way, no one rushed through that first bite. Today, pies have taken their place, neat and predictable. But something far colder, far brighter, and far more surprising is already waiting behind the refrigerator door, ready to steal the spotlight next. Rutabaga mash with cream and pepper. Mistaken for a potato by the untrained eye, this humble root carried a depth of flavor that once grounded the entire Christmas meal. Rutabaga mash was the quiet standard-bearer of thrift and tradition, especially in northern kitchens where winters were long and waste was a luxury no one could afford. The thick-skinned bulbs were peeled and chopped with steady hands, then boiled until tender in steaming pots that fogged the windows. When mashed, their golden flesh released an earthy aroma, deeper and slightly bittersweet compared to familiar potatoes. Warm cream was poured in slowly, softened butter disappearing into the steam, while black pepper, never shy, gave the dish its gentle fire. The texture was rustic, never perfectly smooth, but rich with substance and character. On plates crowded with sweet glazes and heavy gravies, rutabaga stood apart, cleansing the palate with honest, grounded flavor. Over the years, flashier sides pushed it aside, and many forgot its quiet strength entirely. But as that sturdy root faded from memory, a shimmering green creation, cold, bright, and utterly baffling, was already taking shape in a glass mold, waiting to shock the table next. Brussels sprouts with chestnuts and bacon. Somewhere between the crackle of bacon and the quiet sweetness of roasted nuts, a forgotten Christmas luxury once took shape. Brussels sprouts with chestnuts and bacon were the kind of side dish that whispered elegance without ever raising its voice. Fresh sprouts were halved and slowly braised until just tender, their slight bitterness mellowing with heat. Thick-cut bacon was crisped until its fat turned liquid gold, then folded back into the pan so every green leaf could drink in its smoky richness. But the true rarity, the ingredient that made this dish feel ceremonial, was the chestnut. Roasted, peeled, and roughly chopped, the chestnuts brought a soft, buttery sweetness that balanced everything else. After the American chestnut blight, these nuts became scarce and expensive, saved only for the most special meals. Bring this classic back to your holiday table by seeking fresh sprouts and chestnuts. Your family will marvel at the depth and warmth of flavor in every bite. The flavors were deep, warm, and layered. Smoke, earth, and gentle sweetness in one quiet bite. Today, Brussels sprouts have returned to fashion, but this old-world trio has nearly vanished. And just beyond this smoky elegance, something silky and pale is waiting. A dish that once made vegetables feel dressed for the finest holiday occasion. Macaroni and stewed tomato bake. It wasn't flashy, and it never tried to be. Yet somehow it always made the table feel fuller, warmer, and just a little more generous. Macaroni and stewed tomato bake was born from practical kitchens and clever stretching of pantry staples. Elbow macaroni was boiled until tender, then folded into slow-simmered tomatoes that carried the quiet sweetness of summer preserved in a can. A handful of chopped onions slipped into the mix, and if times were good, a light scattering of sharp cheddar was added. Never enough to dominate, just enough to whisper richness. Once poured into a Pyrex dish and slid into the oven, the transformation began. The edges bubbled, the top bronzed gently, and the scent drifted through the house. Warm tomato, soft starch, and the faint tang of melted cheese. It wasn't indulgent like casseroles crowned in crumbs or cream. It was steady, reliable, the kind of side that promised no one would leave the table hungry. Today, it's almost completely forgotten, overshadowed by heavy cheese bakes and reinvented pasta dishes. But as this humble comfort faded from sight, something golden and syrup-sweet was already roasting quietly in the oven, ready to steal the next moment of holiday attention. Lime Jello cottage cheese salad. It shimmered like something from a dream. Pale green, cool and impossibly bright against a table of warm browns and golds. Lime Jello cottage cheese salad was the kind of Christmas side that made guests pause before taking their first bite, unsure whether it belonged with the turkey or the dessert. Lime gelatin was dissolved and cooled just enough to glow, then folded with crushed pineapple and snowy spoonfuls of cottage cheese. The curds floated like soft clouds inside the glassy green mold, suspended in perfect mid-century optimism. Some versions added chopped walnuts for crunch or celery for a sharp surprise. Others layered it carefully so each slice revealed a striped cross-section of color and texture. Once chilled, it unmolded with a gentle wobble that never failed to draw eyes across the table. The flavor was unexpected: tart, creamy, sweet, and faintly savory all at once. A combination that made no logical sense and yet completely worked. Today, the idea of cottage cheese and gelatin sharing a plate feels almost unbelievable. Yet for a generation, this was modern, stylish, and proudly served straight from a ring mold. And just when you think Christmas sides couldn't grow any stranger, the next forgotten favorite waits, louder, warmer, and far more indulgent than this cool green curiosity: scalloped potatoes with onion cream. Could a humble potato really steal the spotlight at a Christmas feast? Once, scalloped potatoes with onion cream managed exactly that, quietly layering elegance and comfort in every baked slice. Thinly sliced potatoes were arranged meticulously in a buttered casserole, each layer dusted with salt, pepper, and a whisper of nutmeg. The real magic came from the cream sauce, enriched with caramelized onions that had been slowly sweated until golden and fragrant, their sweetness melting into every fold of potato. As the dish baked, steam curled from the oven, carrying a scent that was rich yet gentle, familiar yet impossible to ignore. By the time the top browned and bubbled, the layers had fused into a silky, tender mosaic, each bite offering the contrast of soft potatoes and deeply flavored onions. It was the kind of side that made guests linger over seconds and remember what patience and care could taste like. Today, convenience mashed potatoes or frozen gratins have largely replaced it, leaving scalloped onions as a near-forgotten tradition. But behind the oven door, another golden treasure waits, a dish so sweet and lofty that it might just start a holiday debate before the first fork hits the table. Pineapple cheese casserole. Can a side dish be both surprising and comforting at the same time? Pineapple cheese casserole managed that delicate balance, a quirky mid-century creation that boldly combined sweet and savory in a single golden bake. Crushed pineapple, bright and juicy, mingled with shredded sharp cheddar and a touch of cream to create a rich, luscious mixture. Some cooks added a scattering of crushed Ritz crackers or a pinch of sugar to top, creating a crisp, caramelized crown that glimmered under the holiday lights. Baked slowly, the flavors melded into a creamy, tangy, slightly sweet concoction that was unlike anything else on the table. Its tangy sweetness cut through the heavier meats and gravies, offering a refreshing pause between bites of rich holiday fare. Kids loved it for the sugar, adults for the unexpected sophistication hidden in familiar ingredients. Today, pineapple cheese casserole has mostly disappeared, dismissed as a relic of a bygone era. Yet just as this sweet and savory gem fades from memory, another forgotten creation, tender, buttery, and slightly mysterious, is quietly rising in the oven, ready to claim its place in holiday lore. Corn pudding custard bake. Golden and gently jiggling, corn pudding custard bake was the understated star of many a Christmas table. A mixture of creamed corn and whole kernel corn blended with eggs, milk, and melted butter transformed into a silky, spoonable custard that balanced sweet and savory with perfect subtlety. A hint of sugar brightened the natural corn flavor, while careful baking ensured the edges caramelized lightly without losing the soft, custardy center. Families treasured it for its warmth and ease. Simple ingredients delivering a dish that felt indulgent yet homey. Each scoop revealed layers of tender corn suspended in creamy custard, a texture both comforting and surprisingly elegant. Church cookbooks and regional collections celebrated it as a side both approachable and memorable, ideal for children and grandparents alike. As modern convenience foods and quick mix casseroles took over, corn pudding quietly disappeared from the holiday lineup, leaving only faint aromas and memories in old recipe books. Meanwhile, tucked away in another corner of the kitchen, a fluffy, golden creation stirs silently in its pan, a dish that demanded careful timing and a delicate hand, waiting to delight the next eager fork. Fried okra with cornmeal crust. Crisp, golden, and impossibly fragrant, fried okra with a cornmeal crust was a Southern Christmas tradition that brought a little crunch to the holiday table. Each tender pod was sliced, dusted in a seasoned layer of cornmeal, and fried until its exterior crackled with warmth and the interior remained soft and sweet. The sizzle of hot oil filled the kitchen, a promise of the simple yet unforgettable pleasure to come. This humble dish balanced texture and flavor in a way that made it unforgettable. The nutty cornmeal paired with the slight tang of fresh okra, sometimes kissed with a hint of black pepper or paprika for depth. Served hot, it was eaten with fingers, encouraging laughter, conversation, and a little mess. The kind that made Christmas feel alive and intimate. Today, fried okra rarely appears on holiday spreads, overshadowed by casseroles and glazed vegetables. Yet while these golden pods vanish from modern tables, another creamy, spiced treasure is quietly waiting in the oven. Soft, rich, and promising a flavor that might just make everyone pause in delight. Waldorf fruit and walnut salad. Fresh, crisp, and quietly elegant, Waldorf fruit and walnut salad was the kind of Christmas side that balanced sophistication with simple pleasure. Chopped apples, juicy grapes, and tart celery were tossed together with lightly toasted walnuts, all bound by a gentle layer of mayonnaise or whipped cream. Each bite offered a mix of textures, crunch, softness, and just the right hint of sweetness, making it a refreshing counterpoint to heavier holiday dishes. The salad often arrived in a glass bowl, letting its colorful ingredients shine like a jewel at the center of the table. It was a showpiece as much as it was a side, light, airy, and inviting conversation as much as it invited forks. For home cooks, preparing it was a small ritual, carefully chopping, mixing, and chilling until the flavors melded perfectly. A quiet demonstration of care and attention. As the years passed, this elegant salad gradually slipped into obscurity, replaced by more convenient or trendy sides. But somewhere, a warm, spiced dish is quietly roasting, about to release an aroma that promises indulgence and nostalgia in equal measure, and a memory of holidays past yet to be savored. Green bean almondine, retro style. Tender, bright, and glistening with butter, green bean almondine was a Christmas side that added both color and crunch to mid-century holiday tables. Fresh green beans were blanched until just crisp tender, then sautéed in butter with a sprinkling of toasted almonds that added a nutty aroma and satisfying bite. A squeeze of lemon or a pinch of salt elevated the flavors, turning a simple vegetable into a dish worthy of celebration. Every forkful offered contrast. The snap of the beans against the crunch of almonds, the richness of butter tempered by a delicate citrus lift. It was a side that felt light yet refined, perfect alongside heavier meats and creamy casseroles. Mid-century cookbooks and women's magazines hailed it as the elegant vegetable, a recipe that allowed home cooks to showcase skill and taste without fuss. Today, fresh green beans often get roasted or steamed without fanfare, and almondine's buttery sophistication has largely faded from holiday menus. But just as these crisp, golden almonds disappear from memory, another indulgent creation is quietly browning in the oven, promising a sweet, luxurious reveal that no one will forget. Maple roasted acorn squash halves. Autumn's warmth captured in golden crescent shapes. Maple roasted acorn squash halves were a festive delight that transformed simple squash into a centerpiece. Each acorn squash was carefully halved and scooped, the cavities becoming tiny bowls for a generous pat of butter and a drizzle of pure maple syrup. As the squash roasted slowly, its flesh caramelized, softening to a tender, buttery consistency that soaked up every drop of sweet syrup. The aroma that filled the kitchen was irresistible. Earthy sweetness mingling with the deep, rich scent of maple, hinting at comfort and celebration in every breath. Sometimes, a light sprinkle of brown sugar or a pinch of cinnamon was added, enhancing the natural sweetness and creating a glossy, golden finish that gleamed under holiday lights. Today, this simple, rustic side is often replaced by purees or casseroles, its golden boats mostly absent from modern tables. Yet while these vibrant halves vanish from memory, another creamy, custardy treasure quietly sets in the oven, a dish that will wobble, shimmer, and invite curiosity at the very next holiday gathering. Creamed spinach with nutmeg. Silky, aromatic, and quietly sophisticated, creamed spinach with nutmeg was a Christmas side that elevated any holiday table. Fresh spinach leaves were carefully cooked and drained, then folded into a rich bechamel sauce made from butter, flour, and milk, creating a luxurious texture that clung to every leaf. A subtle pinch of freshly grated nutmeg added warmth and depth, transforming a humble vegetable into a dish worthy of celebration. Each spoonful was a delicate balance, creamy, lightly spiced, and earthy, providing a gentle counterpoint to the richer, heavier sides like roasted meats and buttery casseroles. Mid-century cookbooks and magazine spreads praised it as a sophisticated alternative to plain greens, a recipe that spoke of both taste and refinement without demanding complicated techniques. In today's fast-paced kitchens, convenience often replaces this elegant preparation, leaving creamed spinach largely absent from holiday spreads. Yet while this silky, nutmeg-kissed side recedes from tables, another golden, sweet dish quietly begins to bubble in the oven, promising a comforting, indulgent surprise that will capture attention with every spoonful. Rice and mushroom holiday casserole. Warm, earthy, and quietly comforting, rice and mushroom holiday casserole was a mid-century Christmas staple designed for both ease and flavor. Partially cooked rice was mixed with sliced mushrooms, a can of condensed cream of mushroom soup, and a dash of dried onion soup mix, creating a creamy, fragrant base. Topped with a layer of crispy fried onions, it baked to golden perfection, offering a satisfying crunch above tender, savory rice. This casserole was the kind of dish that filled kitchens with aromas of nostalgia and anticipation. It was simple enough for busy hosts to prepare ahead, yet rich enough to hold its own alongside roast meats, glazed vegetables, and buttery breads. Church cookbooks and holiday pamphlets touted it as a modern solution for festive dinners, a blend of convenience and indulgence that left guests reaching for seconds. Today, the casserole rarely appears on tables, overshadowed by fresher, lighter sides. Meanwhile, tucked in another corner of the kitchen, a shimmering, sweet creation waits its turn. Soft, golden, and rich with holiday promise, ready to steal the show in the next moment of culinary magic. Pickled beets in sweet vinegar syrup. Deep crimson, tangy, and subtly sweet, pickled beets in sweet vinegar syrup were a Christmas side that quietly stole the spotlight. Fresh, earthy beets were boiled until tender, then peeled and sliced before being submerged in a syrupy blend of vinegar, sugar, and warming spices. Each slice absorbed the sweet tart mixture, glistening like ruby jewels on the holiday table and offering a flavor that was both nostalgic and surprising. The beauty of this dish was in its contrast. The earthy richness of the beets softened by the bright, tangy syrup, creating a balance that awakened the palate. Generations of home cooks treasured it not only for its taste but for its brilliant color, which added visual drama to a spread of greens, creams, and golden baked goods. If you want to bring this classic back to your holiday table, grab fresh beets, dust off that family recipe, and make this timeless side a centerpiece this season. As convenience and modern flavors took over, pickled beets gradually slipped from Christmas menus, leaving only memory and the occasional jarred variety in the pantry. Yet as these ruby slices vanish from tables, another creamy, comforting side begins its slow, fragrant transformation in the oven, hinting at the next unforgettable holiday bite. Old-fashioned bread stuffing with sage. Imagine the scent of golden brown bread cubes mingling with sizzling butter, onions, and celery, all brought together with the warm, earthy aroma of fresh sage. This was old-fashioned bread stuffing, a Christmas table essential in mid-century homes. The bread, ideally a day or two old, absorbed the savory mix of sautéed aromatics and herbs, soaking up the flavors while maintaining just enough texture for a tender, fluffy stuffing. Every forkful offered comfort, a delicate balance of crisp edges and soft, flavorful interior, with sage lending a fragrant, woodsy note that made the kitchen feel alive with tradition. Recipes were often passed down through church cookbooks, handwritten cards, and family notebooks, each adding a small twist or secret ingredient, from a pinch of nutmeg to a splash of homemade stock. Over time, this classic side has largely given way to boxed mixes or simplified recipes, yet its memory lingers like the first whiff of holiday magic. And just as the last sage leaf whispers its aroma across the kitchen, another dish quietly simmers nearby, rich, golden, and sweet, hinting at the next layer of festive indulgence yet to unfold. Butter-braised red cabbage with apples. Vibrant, tangy, and sweetly aromatic, butter-braised red cabbage with apples was a Christmas side that transformed every holiday table into a feast for the senses. Thinly sliced red cabbage was gently sautéed in butter until tender, then combined with sweet, tart apple slices and a touch of brown sugar or cider vinegar. As the ingredients melded, the kitchen filled with a warm, fruity spiced aroma, signaling that the season of celebration had truly begun. This dish struck a perfect balance. The earthy bite of cabbage softened by butter and sweetness, the apples adding a subtle tartness that danced across the palate. It was a side that could complement rich roasts, creamy casseroles, or simply shine on its own. Mid-century cookbooks and family recipes prized it as a colorful, flavorful addition that brought both tradition and elegance to the holiday meal. Today, its presence on Christmas tables has waned, yet for those who remember, each forkful remains a comforting echo of festive kitchens, golden warmth, and cherished memories, a true celebration captured in every bite. These forgotten Christmas sides aren't just recipes, they're memories, stories, and the flavors that once made holiday tables feel truly magical. From buttery glazed vegetables to creamy custardy casseroles, each dish carries a piece of tradition that deserves a place in today's celebrations. Why let them fade into the past when you can bring them back to your own table? Dust off those old cookbooks, try a dish or two, and rediscover the joy of a holiday feast filled with flavor, nostalgia, and love. If you love this journey through the lost classics of Christmas, share it with friends and family, and start your own tradition of reviving these timeless recipes, because the holidays taste best when memories are served alongside every meal.